So this is lesson 7 of angle rules now, okay? Final lesson on angle rules. And we're going to be looking at the last angle rule, which is co-interior angles. Okay, so let's jump right in. So last lesson, we learned about opposite angles, alternate angles, and corresponding angles, okay? And for opposite angles, they were opposite each other, so that was fairly easy to do. Alternate angles, we also called them Z angles or Z angles because they made a Z shape, the lines between the angles. And corresponding angles, we called them F angles because the lines between the angles they made an F shape, okay? So the last one for this lesson is co-interior angles, okay? Now you may have noticed this from the check-in question last lesson, okay? But just to go through it simply, the angles, two angles opposite each other in the same segment or same section, if you will. So not like opposite angles. So they're opposite angles around a point, but angles opposite each other. So they're on different lines. Okay, these will add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, so these two angles will add up to be 180 degrees. So for example, if this top angle was 100, this bottom angle would have to be 80. If the top angle was 110, the bottom angle would have to be 70. Okay, so these co-interior angles, they always add up to equal 180. Okay, so if we look at the check-in question from last week, we can prove this because we said using the check-in question last week that using corresponding angles, using F angles, we were able to find that this angle was 65 degrees. And angles on a line, if I just use a different color pen for a line, angles on a line, so these two are on a straight line here, have to add up to 180 degrees. So x plus 65 equals 180 degrees. So therefore, x had to equal 115 degrees, okay? So it's the same thing, because the two corresponding angles in blue, these blue angles are the same, we're basically doing the same thing, except we're doing one less step. We don't need to find a corresponding angle because we know that these two angles, 65 degrees and x in here, they have to add together and they have to equal 180 degrees, okay? So that's the rule we're looking at this lesson. Co-interior angles always add up to 180 degrees. So with that, we now have our 4 angle rules, okay? So this lesson, we're mainly going to be focusing on co-interior angles, but there may still be some of the other angle rules in the lesson, okay? So let's have a look at some examples. So the first example, we're asked to find angle X and state the angle rule used, okay? So we can see that we have got two angles that are vertically opposite each other, okay? If you want to think of it as they're in a sort of U shape or a C shape, in the C or a U shape, okay? So because they're vertically opposite each other, we know we're going to be using the co-interior angle rule, okay? So co-interior angles. So therefore, that must mean that x plus 50 degrees is equal to 180 degrees, okay? So if something plus 50 is 180 degrees, another way of thinking about this is that x is equal to 180 degrees minus 50 degrees, okay? So x equals 180, take away 50 degrees is 130 degrees. Therefore, x is 130 degrees, okay? And that's it. Let's have a look at another example now. So we've got two angles. Now they're not vertically opposite each other. This time they're horizontally opposite each other, okay? And again, we've got that C shape, okay? Or in this case, it's a U shape now. So because they're opposite each other, that means we're going to be using the co-interior angle rule again, okay? So co-interior angles. Angles. So therefore, x plus 140 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So if something plus 140 is 180, that must mean that x is equal to 180 minus 140 degrees. Okay, so 180 minus 140 equals 40 degrees. So x is 40 degrees. Okay, job done. So have a look at the next one. So this time we're being asked to find x and y and to state the angle rules being used. Okay, so first of all, let's focus on angle x. Okay, well, angle x and 100 degrees, they're opposite angles around the same point. Okay, so we're going to use the opposite angle rules. So opposite angles. Okay, so therefore that means that x is equal to 100 degrees. Okay, simple as. So we've used the opposite angle rule. Okay, now to find angle y, I can see that they're both in this sort of C shape and they're both vertically opposite each other. Okay, so that must mean we're going to be using the corresponding angle rules. Oh, sorry, not corresponding, co-interior angle rules. Okay, so co-interior angles. So therefore, that means that y plus 100 degrees equals 180 degrees. So that means that y is equal to 180 minus 100 degrees. 180, take away 100 is 80 degrees. So therefore y is 80 degrees. Okay, so this time we've used two rules, co-interior and opposite angles. Okay, and there's one more rule now. There's one more example, sorry, coming up. We're asked to find angle x and state the angle rules used. Okay, so currently I can't see a way of how I can figure out angle x without knowing any more information. Okay, so there's a few ways you could go about doing this. Okay, but I'm going to do the one I feel is the way I feel is probably the simplest way to do it. It's going to be very similar to the last example we did. Okay, so we're going to try and find this angle. I'm going to call it angle y. Okay, so again we can see angle y is opposite angle 30 around the same point. So for y, we're going to use opposite angles. Okay, therefore y equals 30 degrees. Okay, now in order to find angle x, because we know angle y, we now have two co-interior angles. Okay, because they're vertically opposite each other. So that must mean for angle x now we're going to use co-interior angles. And that means that x, so therefore x plus y is equal to 180 degrees. We know that y is 30 degrees, so x plus 30 degrees equals 180 degrees. Therefore x is equal to 180 degrees minus 30 degrees, and 180 minus 30 is 150 degrees. Okay, so we found angle x. Okay, and once again we've used two angle rules. Okay, so let's have a look at the main task now. So pause the video and have a go at answering these questions. Okay, so take your time, make sure you have to draw the diagram down if you have to. And there are multiple for the last couple of questions for E, F, G, and H. There's multiple ways to do it, but as long as you get the right number, then that's fine. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at these questions. Okay, so here are the answers. Very well done if you got them all right. Now let's look at the checking question now. So looking at the shape here, we need to find angle A and state the angle rules that we've used along the way. Okay, so pause the video and have a go, okay? Make sure to draw the diagram and label it up. You use other letters for missing angles, okay? And that'll make your work nice and neat and tidy, okay? So pause the video and have a go. Okay, so I can see there's not much information here that can immediately give me the answer to A, okay? But I can see that A is in a triangle, okay? And I know that all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this angle B and this angle C, okay? So now I need to find these two angles, okay? So let's start with C, because I can see 120 and angle C are on a straight line, okay? So to find C, I'm going to use straight line angles, okay? I'm just going to write straight line, okay? So therefore, C plus 120 equals 180 degrees, okay? And you should have found that something plus 120 is 180. So that means that C is equal to 60 degrees, okay? So we found that C is 60 degrees. Now angle B is a little bit trickier to find out, okay? So what other angle rule could we use to find, say, this angle here, okay? Let's label this angle X. So are we able to find out angle X from anywhere else in the shape? Well, yes, if we look at angle 130 up here, if we can actually draw an F angle here, okay? It's a backwards F, but it's still an F. As long as it could be backwards, upside down, it's still an F shape, okay? So that must mean that to find angle X, we're going to be using corresponding angle rules, okay? So I'm just going to write corresponding or corresponding angles, okay? Therefore, that means that X is equal to 130 degrees, okay? So we found X is 130. Now for angle B now, we can use straight lines again, okay? So straight lines. So therefore, X plus B equals 180 degrees. We know that X, oh, sorry, let's write B plus X, sorry. B plus X equals 180 degrees. We know that X is 130, so B plus 130 equals 180. So that means that B is 50 degrees. Okay, so now we've all done this now. We've done all this now. Now for A, like we noticed at the start, we've got a triangle here, okay? So the rule we're going to use is triangle. So triangle angles. And these all add up to 180 degrees, okay? So A plus B plus C equals 180 degrees. We don't know what A is. We know that B is 50. And we know that C is 60 degrees. And this all has to equal 180 degrees. So A plus 110 degrees is 180. Something plus 110 is 180. So that means that A is 70 degrees, okay? And that's the final answer for angle A, okay? So really, really difficult question. There's lots of little steps, okay? But if you found that A was 70 degrees, done a fantastic job, okay? Really well done. And that's it for this lesson now, okay? And we'll see you next time. Bye now.